to continue next mantra from Yoga Chudamani Upanishad. It's mantra 36, Kundalini Shakti. And the Sanskrit is Pranavidya Mahavidya Yastam Veta Savedavit Kantoradve Kundali Shakti Ashtada Kundala Kriti. The translation is: knowledge of prana is the great knowledge. One who knows this knows the reality. Above the root is the Kundalini Shakti, serpent of 8 coils. So basically 3 sentences and so much information, all the knowledge of Kundalini rising, awakening, all the practices we do, Kriya Yoga, it's everything involved, included in this one mantra. That's why threads of these mantras will be revealing and enlightenment by themselves. Commentary. In this mantra, Pranavidya, the knowledge of prana, is said to be Mahavidya, the great knowledge. Knowledge of prana is ultimately knowledge of Kundalini, the cosmic prana which resides in a dormant state within each individual. Therefore, Pranavidya arises through the process of Kundalini Yoga. The basis of the knowledge is awakening the cosmic energy potential and returning to the source of Sahasrara chakra, where it merges with Shiva, the pure consciousness, in the transcendental state. The mantra further states that one who knows this knows the Vedas or the reality. Such a yogi is able to perceive the ultimate truth directly. I guess here it's not just the one that knows or maybe experienced this, maybe that's how you can read it through. Also, we have here the Pranavidya. Vidya, it's in Russian vidit, it's meant to see. So it's basically, I see you. It's meaning like I understand it, I see it, I totally fully comprehend, what I see. Prana, it's the prana, universal force. And Mahavidya, Maha, it's the greatest or the one overall. And Vidya, again, to see or know is a knower. It's the great knowledge, Mahavidya. And this cosmic prana, Kundalini, it's basically the rising of the serpent that resides and sleeps and dormant in the seat of Kundalini, and then it's rising up through all the chakras to the column. That's why, this medicine symbol, it's the stick with like a apostle, stick like staff basically of the wizard, and around there's 2 snakes coiled around, and they basically, where the coiled, it's our 2 Ida Pingala channels, and they where the cross, that's our where the chakras, and the top they meet into the 3rd eye. And eventually when you reach this point already through Bindu and Sahasrara, you will connect it to the universal knowledge, universal greatness. However, if you ever practice, or how I do the Tantra part of yoga, you bring the Shakti from the bottom and Shiva from the top, and you join them around the heart, and the heart, the chakra as well. So there's no like a one way of passage of the enlightenment. You need to be aware of that. The mantra next states that the Kundalini Shakti resides above the Kanda. The word Kanda means root, and all the nadis are said to spring from it. So it's the seat of Kundalini. The term Kanda is also synonymous with Medra. We already learned that, which was used previously in the mantras describing Swadhisthana and Manipura. So come back to my previous mantras readings before we did, when we go through kind of more in detail through the chakras. I think it's the mantra, so it's the mantra 5, 4, 5, 6, knowing the chakra, and then you go through each of them. So we talked about this in detail specifically. In the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the Kanda is described as situated above the anus, 1 hand span high and 4 fingers breadth wide. The Kanda connects Sushumna Nadi in Muladhara in the spaces above the Shivalingam. So Shivalingam, it's this, if you ever pictured, supposedly like a phallus-looking type of, like a column, and the Shivalingam, the one that resides here, that's where the Kanda, just the Kanda Sushumna Nadi is to Muladhara in the space above the Shivalingam. The dormant Kundalini is generally symbolized as a small red serpent, still type of snake, coiled around the Shivalingam by 3.5 times, as I know, and its head resting on top. asleep. The reference to Kundalini being above the Kanda is this mantra. A mantra indicates that the spiritual force has already begun to ascend Sushumna. So you see, all the symbology is so important, and the more you start practicing, you will realize that it's not just something symbology to tell you how it's supposed to look like. No, you, through hearing symbology or from your guru teacher or reading texts, you will connect to the deep down roots of the fabric of the universe, like a blueprint of the universe, and through that remind you, so you will connect to your higher self and remembering that. So we're using the symbols not to import something in your mind, so that's how it should look like, you know, like, I don't know, you go to school or church and they tell you it has to be like that, Jesus look like that. Opposite, there's this very specific, very bleak, very simple symbols. Like we use triangles, we use, I don't know, serpents, this kind of stuff, which are universal, and they bring you back to yourself faster. And it's interesting in yoga or Tantra yoga or in these texts, they never give you specific how it looks like or the picture. So there's not like pictures in this book. Nobody depicted it for you, because you should be just from the sound or very, very general symbology, connect to itself and see it how it is. And often it is identical one-to-one when you really remember it. The lineage above the Kanda indicates that spiritual force has already begun to ascend Sushumna. And it does. If you're listening to this text, it should surely already do for you. Kundalini has been described as a serpent power, primordial energy, which is electric, fiery, and spiritual in nature. It is the cosmic power within the individual body, which links the individual with the divine. When this energy is awakened and manifesting, it is called Devi, Kali, Durga, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and so on, according to the state or degree of awakening. For example, Kali represents the state of uncontrolled cosmic forces in the early stage of awakening. Durga represents the controlled, channeled cosmic forces in the intermediate stage of awakening. Saraswati represents the refined expression of cosmic energy at higher stages of awakening. And if you go deep down into symbology of the chakras, and I do it in my chakra course, we're gonna each deities attributed to specific chakras there. The word Kundalini has been translated in different ways. The root of the word is Kundala, which means coil. So now we're going deeper into the Kundalini symbology. We're almost halfway through, so that's expected from here in this Upanishad. From this definition, the symbol of the coiled serpent was derived, which is described in the mantra. The word Kundalini also comes from the root Kund, which means pit, cavity, or deeper place. In this connotation, Kundalini is that power which resides in a deeper place, which we know is Muladhara chakra. The unawakened Kundalini remains in a dormant state at Muladhara, the lowest psychic center representing the element earth or matter. Here the cosmic force is fixed in the matter and thus unable to manifest its divine potentiality. So the ground, it's kind of, we always, again, symbology, the ground, the earth, you ground it, you come back to the roots, to something primordial, something ancient, some of your roots, ancestors. The sky, it's the gods, it's your connection to high divine, to something that above of everything. So it's very logical and similar in the body. And Muladhara, we talked about this a lot. When we talk about Muladhara, that's your chakra to connect your previous reincarnation through this chakra. When we first time reincarnate as a human being, according to the Buddhism and Hindu and so on, you are coming, for example, from your lower worlds, for example, from the animal. So the Muladhara, for the animals, it's the higher chakra through which they reincarnate in the next level, which is a human. And for us, it's that's the point where we are. So that's where the Kundalini resides, sleeps, dormant. That's why when you do practices, many people start focusing on kind of high levels here, and Manipura, Anahata, these chakras, basically from Anahata, high below. But you cannot awaken your Kundalini without getting into your roots, into the bottom. And many practices Tantra, they're related to all these lower chakras connecting to the higher and marrying them, bring them together. In the same time, opening them up. Rather than just, if you will skip something, in focusing on the higher levels, it only might bring you some temporary realizations, but not like a full, steady awakening. The mantra further describes Kundalini as a serpent of 8 coils. The 8 coils symbolically represents the all-pervading energy or force of 8 chakras of Kundalini Yoga: Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Ajna, Bindu, and Sahasrara. The 8 coils also represents Ashta Siddhi, or 8 psychic powers associated with awakening of the chakras in the dormant potential. With the awakening of Kundalini, or the straightening of the coil, these 8 Siddhis become manifest. Siddhis like these extra abilities. We talked about this before in my Prana Pranayama talks, short talks I have. Check out on my channel. When Jesus walked on the water, or was it Moses who opened up the bottom of the sea and people walk on the bottom of the sea and the waves were steady. This is considered to be Siddhis of levitating, or when Jesus feed hundreds of people with 1 fish and 1 piece of bread, was it? This is Siddhis, yeah. For us it's magical things, stuff that's impossible in this world, or telepathy even though. Reading mind, although many people do experience this, but for us, unfortunately, for majority, it's considered to be fake or coincidence. It's not existing. It's something supernatural. It's not true. You cannot prove it. We didn't study at school, so it's not exist. But when you start practice yoga, we call it Siddhis. You start develop them. Well, not develop them. You don't develop them like you go to the gym and you practice muscles, or you learn to write and you can write. This is the skill you got. Siddhis always in us. You just forgetting how to use them. And often we do use Siddhis when we're little children, but we're forgetting about this when we're grown up, or we're losing this connection. It's kind of like flying in your sleep. Many of us fly in our sleep when we were children or teenagers, and then we forgot how to do that. Or controlling your dream. Wake up in your dream, know that you're in a dream, and make your dream whatever you want it to be. Yeah, read somebody's mind, or travel to different places without see in the dark, travel to different places without physically travel there, your mind, conscience. All these things are the Siddhis. And one of the most magical ones is like levitate or go through the walls, this kind of stuff. So it's not considered to be magic and impossible, or don't breathe, like many yogis even right now, and some of them been even studied. So the modern scientists in medicine, they can have 1 breath cycle within several days, and people think it's impossible. According to all the medicine knowledge logics, they should be dead by now. They're not, so how that happened? But if you think about it, some animals have this seed here. Yeah, for example, all the animals who hibernate during the winter, like a bear, or I don't know, turtles, they're doing this. Even like crocodiles, slow down the heartbeat and the breathing so slow that they, through the winter, they can, for example, hunt without even almost breathing. So they almost might look like they died, but they're not. And many even primitive animals can do this, and they stay in this state. And some of the bacteria, for example, originally was the ones that we found on the asteroids. They can travel through the space in an almost cold, with no oxygen and with no heat, or with high radiation. So they basically preserve, because of they slow down all the processes in the body. But then there will be something that triggers it, and they will wake up. So many animals in your world can do that. Plants, the trees basically slow down during the winters, but humans forgot how to do that. So we as humans, for practice yoga, we start remembering these Siddhis, and it's bring up to us. Next part is quite a big mantra here. I'll finish it, hopefully. The word Siddhis also means paranormal accomplishment or perfection. These Siddhis are mentioned in many yogi texts as a natural outcome of Kundalini awakening at different stages or chakra levels. The 8 Siddhis are as follow. So let's go through the Siddhis, very cool stuff. Anima, the ability to become infinitely small. Hani, I shrink our children, so basically that. Mahima, the ability to become infinitely large. Garima, the ability to become infinitely heavy. Lagima, the ability to become infinitely light, and that's how you levitate. Prapti, the ability to obtain whatever one wishes. Prakamyam, the ability to obtain whatever one desires. Vashistvam, the ability to totally subjugate others. And Isidvam, attainment of absolute supremacy. Some yogic and tantric literatures have described Kundalini as having 3.5 coils. There seems to be varying concepts regarding that aspects of the Kundalini symbology. So that's what I told you, 3.5. That's how I've been trained and taught. However, here they describe the 8 as well, so 8 Siddhis. The text which describe Kundalini as having 3.5 coils refers to the 3 gunas. That's what I've been taught. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and we talked about gunas before. So it's a representation. Others state that the 3.5 coils represents the manifestation of Shakti as Nada, Bindu, and Bija. Nada is the primal sound, the first vibration, rhythm, or the first there was a sound, the word. That's why we'll read in the Bible, apparently. A rhythm or movement produced by Shakti in the process of creation. So that's also how, according to this yogic text, a world was created, the source of Shakti, created by the sound, but the movement, first movement. Bindu is the primal source, potential or point of manifest form through which Shakti creates, and Bija is the seed, agency or medium through which creation takes place. Some have described the 3 coils as representing the 3 aspects of Shakti: Ichha, will, Kriya, action, and Jnana, knowledge. These 3 are necessary to create the world of the name, form, and idea. Others have identified the 3 coils with the 3 aspects of transcendental nature, which are omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. So all these things are universal and fundamental. And is it of 8 coils? Is you described all your siddhis, or is it 3.5 these gunas? This is up to you to find out through your meditation. So because eventually when you start practicing or Kriya Yoga or deeper practices, or just get deeper into your state, you're going to start seeing these things and then kind of reveal to you in your conscious state or in your dream, and you will decide for yourself what is it. And that's why sometimes it's nice to not to know specifically some symbology, as I described again, how it's supposed to be, how you're supposed to feel through meditation. It's like unspoken rule in the yogic society. For those who for real practice yoga, for sure, they do not reveal you the experiences, 100%. So they might tell you something with the experience, but they will not specifically tell you. So they don't want to. It's not because nobody wants to, because of comparison to each other and this kind of stuff. But it's not just more like that, like I'm shy or I don't want to impose, my achievement. It's also just not polite to have you had this experience or not, you kind of like where you are on the stage, But it's also because everybody have their own journey. For some people it can happen within first meditation. For some people it can take 50 years to get some kind of first steps in the meditation. So we should be considering to that as first. And secondly, because if I'm going to start telling you my experiences, how I experienced particular things in the yoga practice, you will start expecting it or waiting for it, or I'm going to spoil your personal experience, because for each and every person it's totally different. Yoga guru teacher, he will not tell you, yes, you're supposed to see this, or yes, I had it like that. More think about your experience and what it's meant for you. Yeah, so that's what you usually found when you talk to practitioner. So I hope you enjoyed that mantra, and I'll see you in the next one. Hari Om.